What is the scariest, creepiest, most disturbing thing you have ever encountered? Serious. About 20 years ago, I was working at a school. A teacher was in my shared office working, and she and her recently divorced daughter both worked at this school. Anyway, her ex-son-in-law just came into the school without signing in and came into my office asking his ex-mother-in-law where his ex-wife, her daughter, was. At this time, I had only heard anecdotal, vague stuff about him, but the second he opened my office door, I was really scared. He just had this look that told me not to engage with him in any way. He tried to get his ex-wife to go somewhere with him and she refused, and he left the school. The mother and her daughter didn't show up to work the next day, and they didn't call in either. The principal went to check on them and found them shot dead along with 2 other people. We just continued to have school that day with kids talking about him being dead all day, and it was just horrible. When I was in the 3rd grade, an older kid I went to school with kept asking me if I wanted to see some cool stuff that was in his backpack. I ignored the kid at first, but after a few hours at the childcare center at school, it was a snow day, I went over with him to his bag, where he pulled out some Polaroids of a naked woman. I freaked out. He told me I was just being dumb, that it was just pornography, and that it was just something totally normal. I was raised in the Mormon church, and anything pornography-related was so taboo to me at the time that I ran straight to the attending teacher and told her the kid had something illegal in his bag that he showed me. I know pornography isn't illegal, but at the time this is what I believed to be true, likely because of my upbringing. He left the school a little later with the police, but not in cuffs. It was a very, very quiet transaction, and none of the other kids saw them leave out through the back hallway. I never saw him or his sisters ever again. Turns out the Polaroids were of his 16-year-old cousin, and they were taken by his dad. I was 21 and just moved to a college town living in my own. I noticed my AC unit was being turned off during the day. I thought maybe it was maintenance or a faulty breaker. So I talked to property management, they couldn't figure it out. I brushed it off. Then I started coming home and there was dishes I didn't remember leaving in the sink. A cereal bowl, a fork. I had a brain tumor, so I was concerned my memory was getting really bad. Then one day while I was in the shower, I thought I heard a man downstairs. I turned off my shower, froze, and grabbed a razor. I realized the door had no lock, so I braced myself against the sink and door. I held my breath and listened. I frantically texted my high school friend who lived in the unit next door. When I heard his voice, I flew downstairs and he was staring at ammunition on my carpet. Just bullets, scattered everywhere. And this began the 3-year saga of my stalker, and we made the first of multiple police calls. So while not traditionally creepy, those bullets made my skin crawl and heart sink. I knew someone wanted to hurt me and had been watching me. My mother always told me to close my window blinds as a kid before I went to sleep. I usually remembered, but one night I forgot. I woke up in the middle of the night to an old man staring through my window, smiling. We stared at each other for like 10 seconds. I calmly got out of bed and walked to my mom's room. On the way there, I passed the living room and saw someone walking past our living room windows. I went to sleep in her bed and never brought it up. About 5 years ago, a few buddies and I went camping in Tennessee. We were on mountain bikes, so we were able to get way far out from civilization and set up camp in the middle of the woods. This was not a camping area, so we didn't run into any other people, and we were so far away from anything we didn't expect to. We all went to sleep without incident, and it was as dark can be outside with clouds blocking the moon. After being asleep for a couple of hours, I heard leaves crunching, probably about 20 feet from our tent. It was obviously footsteps. I then noticed a little bit of light shining on the tent from what I assume was a flashlight. Then I hear two men whispering. Then I hear, "Y'all asleep in there?" My instinct was to remain completely silent and I didn't make a sound. Eventually I heard more footsteps heading away from the tent until eventually I heard nothing again. Needless to say, I got absolutely no sleep after that, and I woke my buddies up about 10 minutes later to tell them. In the morning there was no sign of anybody, and we left quickly. Never figured it out. For months, my friend would talk about how she was super uncomfortable around her dad. I would agree and think it was a sort of men can definitely be creepy sometimes kind of thing. Turns out her dad had been sexually assaulting her, possibly only once, I'm not quite sure, ever since her mom's parents died. They died within the same year as each other, and generally you can't be in the mood at that sort of time. I found out about all of this after my friend killed herself. Her dad is in jail and her mom and two siblings have moved a couple times in the past year since she did it. I miss her every day. We had a school friend tell us before a Halloween sleepover of a ghost story where she was pinned to her bed and felt like someone was touching her in the middle of the night. We were all young at the time, maybe 11/12, so we all shrieked with laughter and thought it was nothing other than a scary story. Fast forward maybe 15 or so years, we've all moved on with life, gone to different schools, etc. I run into this girl on a night out. I ask how she is, how her parents are, etc. She tells me her dad died a few years ago from cancer. I offer my condolences. She replies, "Actually, I couldn't be happier. That evil prick destroyed my life." It was only then that a lot of things she had said and did over the years made sense. I felt so bad for not realizing when we were younger. I know this doesn't seem serious, but when I saw like 10 raccoons and they all started chasing me all the way to my house and I was 3 blocks away, but I ran the entire distance without stop, and after I got into my house I had a good night after that. I was at my friend's house at 9 o'clock and it was dark. My cousin works for a crime scene cleanup thing when I was 17. I needed to be an intern somewhere for a grade. I was expecting to just stay in the office, but nope. She got a call that there was a car crash accident, and when we got there was a dead teen, my age, that went through the window. The sad thing is that I knew this kid around the school. Every time I think of him I see his body, lifeless, that was hanging out from that window. Good thing about it is that the school put a memorial for him. When I was 16, my parents got a divorce, and I went through the typical angst. Part of it was firmly denouncing religion and anything not explained by science. My mom, sister and I moved into a creepy old house where they both complained of paranormal instances, which I was quick to dismiss. I came home from a track meet around 7:30 p.m. on a Friday. When I came in I heard my sister hysterically laughing with her signature snort. I asked her, "What's so funny, Taylor?" and while barely speaking through the laughing and snorting she replied, "Just come up here, it's hilarious." I slowly walk up the creaky steps as I listened to her laugh the entire time. She kept saying, "You gotta see this, come up here." When I opened the door it was pitch black and she was nowhere to be found. Then I realized when I drove into the driveway there were no other cars, I was home alone. I then remembered my mom and sister had gone to tour colleges that weekend. I got my ass out of there ASAP. I now believe I know nothing about this world. Edit, hysterically * laughing. No, I did not move after that, but I didn't spend a single night in that house for a year. This experience ended up motivating me to move into my dad's house for the rest of high school and ever when I came back from college in the summers. I was dropping off a rider in NJ from Manhattan and decided to pick up a couple of rides near Newark. A guy gets in my car with his family and sits in the front seat. He then turns my way and doesn't talk for like 2 to 3 minutes. I'm now officially creeped out and start thinking I should move a little faster. Then he starts to ask where I'm from. I'm instantly even more on alert and say Brooklyn. He says, no, where are you originally from? And I'm like, dude, Brooklyn. He starts getting agitated and asks, where are your parents from? And I'm like, Brooklyn. Then he screams, dude, where are they originally from? And I am now officially terrified. His daughter starts screaming in the back, telling him to stop cause he's scaring me, and to be honest, I lost all control and may have started going through reds. Not once did I even think about looking in his direction. Made a 15-minute ride in like 6 minutes, and not once was I stupid enough to mention that my family originally came from Pakistan. He started yelling at his family next, and L began to regret taking rides in NJ. I was trapped in a box with a maniac and kept expecting a knife or a gun to pop into his hands any second. I was pretty happy when I pulled into a gated building and the police was there. I dropped him off, turned off the app and drove all the way back to the city without a rider. Lesson learned: no more driving in NJ. Avoid Newark and Trenton, the rough areas. Some people will try to start something for no reason. I spent the first 20 years of my life living in an active war zone, the Les and Bushwick, before they were gentrified, but have never felt more in danger and threatened than in Trenton. You can't even avoid him while driving away in your car. I can take care of myself, believe me, but fuck all that to hell. My sister married a man in the Air Force. There was a base near there, but I made him come get me in the main Philippine station, which was at least lit and had employees in it. See also Camden. I want to like NJ, I really do. A lot of my friends are moving there now as they marry, have babies, but dude, after dark I am out. Asterisk. Edit. There are lovely parts of Jersey. It's the passing through hell to get to them that I could do without. I don't have a car, so I have to go through the various NJ transit train stops, and currently all the routes I've had to go on involve either Trenton or Camden. You have a lovely state and a lovely shore, but some of your cities are terrifying. When I was 5 years old, I had a nightmare. In that nightmare there was a man, and he just stood there doing nothing but repeatedly saying, "You won't wake up," over and over. I was scared to the point I couldn't move. When I woke up from the nightmare, I could still see and hear my dream. He was laughing at me. I forcefully opened my eyes with my hands, but I couldn't get him out of my head. I was so frightened I was about to cry. I got up from my bed and felt in my way to the kitchen where my mum was making breakfast. I tugged on her shirt button and asked her to help me, but she just said, "Just open your eyes." I tried to show her my eyes were open. There. But she didn't turn around and ignored me. Well, if Mom wasn't going to help me, then I thought if I went back to sleep I could fight this laughing man for my freedom, so I went back to bed and closed my eyes. And eventually the man and his laughing faded as I counted down from 10. Immediately I ran back out to Mum, just to make sure that what happened was actually real, but she just laughed and ignored me again. To this day I have never felt so betrayed by someone. Idiot neighborhood kid who got it in his head that I somehow disrespected him, so he rounded up his buddies to kidnap me, rob and beat in my ass, try to throw me into the traffic and stuff. Legit thought that's how I die. I said kid, but these guys were close to 18/19 by the time the legal stuff and court dates were done. Second is a childhood bully who I think is as close to sociopath as anyone I ever met. There's simply a frightening level characteristics they exhibit. We crossed paths against in our early 20s and he was the same disturbing person as always. For whatever reason I was one of his main targets for torment all throughout school. Please like, comment and subscribe, or don't, it's up to you.